In today's video, I'll be revealing what financial institutions discovered when they studied thousands of retirees and the one thing that ended their RMD worries completely. Through analyzing research from Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and JP Morgan on successful retiree patterns, I've discovered that the calmest retirees all approached RMDs with one specific strategy that eliminated worries and optimized their outcomes. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today, to show you what these retirees did differently to end their worries about required minimum distributions and how you can implement their proven approach. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ben. I've been a financial advisor for almost 20 years, and I want to help you have an even better retirement. Now, before we get too deep into strategies, let's talk about what RMDs actually are. Now, if you already know what RMDs are and how they're calculated, well, please bear with me. I've got some unique content in the next section, including a strategy on how to reduce RMDs that I'm pretty willing to bet you've never heard of. So what is an RMD? So an RMD, or a required minimum distribution, is the amount the IRS requires you to withdraw from certain retirement accounts each year once you reach a certain age. So we've got a nice tax deduction during our working years to help us save for retirement. Once we hit our 70s, well, the party's over and certain pipers must be paid. So the current rule, and admittedly this has changed quite a bit over the years, says that RMDs must start at age 73 or 75 if you were born 1960 or later. Now, these withdrawals apply to what you'd expect, right? Traditional IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, and most employer-sponsored plans like 401ks and 403b. Think tax-deferred assets. Now, the big exception, of course, is Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks. No taxes and no RMDs, at least not while you're alive anyway. So how do we calculate what our RMD is? Well, it's a pretty simple formula. You take your account balance on December 31st of the previous year, and you divide it by your life expectancy factor from an IRS table. So to give you an example, 75-year-old $2 million IRA, you divide $2 million by 24.6, resulting in an RMD of about $81,000 for the first year. Now, that percent of your account is what you'll need to withdraw, and that is going to go up each year as you get older. Like I mentioned earlier, the factor for age 75 is 24.6, which is kind of hard to wrap your mind around. So if we can convert that to a percent, it's about 4% per year. Now, that factor then increases every year that you make the mistake of getting older. So as we look at it, I'll put it up on the screen here so I don't have to read you all the numbers, but it looks something like this. Around 4% at 75, 5% at 80, 8.2 at 90, and we're all the way up to 15.5% at age 100. Remember that your RMD is calculated by both your age and your account balance, and with the market being positive anywhere from 2/3 to 3/4 of the time, those RMDs can really grow kind of a lot faster than you might expect them to. Now, if you don't take your full RMD, the IRS penalty can be pretty steep, up to 25% of the shortfall, although it can be reduced down to 10% if you quickly correct it, which I guess sounds pretty steep until you realize that it was a 50% penalty until pretty recently. I think they fixed that in 2023. So what can you do about it? Well, like I mentioned, major firms like Fidelity and Vanguard, Charles Schwab, JP Morgan, kind of all the big characters, well, they looked at how thousands of retirees handled those withdrawals, and what they found was a pretty clear pattern. The retirees who handled the RMDs the best, they weren't necessarily the wealthiest clients or the more sophisticated investors. They're simply the ones that understood the basics early, they automated their distributions, and they decided where their RMDs needed to be, and then treated RMDs as part of their overall financial income plan, the retirement income, rather than some sort of looming penalty off into the future. So they incorporated every piece together. So the lesson from the research that I read is pretty simple. Education and systemization can significantly reduce any stress you have around RMDs. And by the way, if you'd like to visualize your potential RMDs using various rates of return, go ahead and click the link in the video description. I've got a free RMD calculator that you can use, and you can kind of create this for yourself. Now, once you understand how RMDs work, the next step is, of course, planning for them, ideally years before your RMDs start. The most successful retirees don't wait until the last minute when they're 73 or 75. They start positioning their accounts ahead of time, ideally in your 60s or sooner. So the first thing they do is they use thoughtful Roth conversions to reduce future RMDs and then create some tax flexibility for later years. Converting part of a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA during your lower income years means paying taxes at known rates today versus potentially unknown rates in the future, and then, of course, eliminating RMDs on any dollars that they convert forever. Roth conversions can also help with a bunch of things: relief against the widow's tax, creating tax-free cash as a lump sum if you need access to that, tax-free gifts to beneficiaries, lower taxable estate, hedge against future tax increases, many other benefits. Watch any of our other videos if you want to learn more about that. Second, savvy retirees, they planned ahead by planning for qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs. And that's if, and really only if, you're charitably minded. QCDs let you donate directly from your IRA to charity, and then you count that donation towards your RMD. It keeps the income off of your tax return and it satisfies your distribution requirement at the same time. Kind of a neat tool. So if charitable giving isn't part of your goals, please skip this entirely, but it's a great option for many retirees. Now, again, friendly reminder, much like the mortgage interest deduction, don't spend money in order to get a tax deduction. That math really very rarely pencils out. This also includes charity. If you send a charity $100 for the tax deduction, you're really sending $100 to that charity to avoid sending Uncle Sam $25. Well, you still lost $75. We have a mortgage because we want a place to live, not just because we want to save on taxes. We give to charity because we want to support that charity. Hey, if we get some tax relief in the meantime, just like with our mortgage interest, great. Right? If we're 100% certain that we were going to give the money to charity, regardless of any tax benefits, well, then of course it makes sense to optimize that charitable giving in a way that gives us the most tax benefit. Hopefully that makes sense. Third, if you're married, think about disclaiming assets and naming contingent beneficiaries. This is a concept that very few people talk about. In fact, I don't ever think I've heard it mentioned on YouTube before. You can tell me in the comments if you've heard it somewhere else. But disclaiming simply means that if one spouse passes, the surviving spouse can choose to redirect certain inherited assets to either children or grandchildren instead of automatically accepting those inherited assets. It's a great way to manage RMDs, and we can then manage taxes across multiple generations. Like I said, I don't think I've heard this mentioned on YouTube. Tell me if you've heard otherwise in the comments. So I'll give you an oversimplified example just so you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about. An 80-year-old married couple, they've got $4 million in a retirement portfolio. In this example, all of which belongs to the husband. It's in his IRA. Well, the husband dies, leaves all $4 million to his spouse. The spouse had decided years prior that she only wanted to keep what she felt she needed and then disclaim the rest. So after a few months pass, she recalculates her retirement plan and decides of that $4 million, she really only needs $2 million plus her Social Security benefit to reach all of her retirement income goals. So the remaining $2 million will be disclaimed and passed on to her contingent beneficiaries, which would be her 2 adult children in this case. So by doing this, she accomplished a couple neat things. One, she reduced her RMDs by reducing her IRA by 50% less RMDs. 2, she started the first of 2 10-year clocks for her kids to inherit those IRAs and to cash them out. The second clock will start when she dies, hopefully many years down the road. But what we did then was we stretched taxes over 2 separate 10-year periods versus 1 10-year period, and that's going to save a tremendous amount in taxes. Without disclaiming assets, the spouse inherits all $4 million. It grows to maybe $6 million over the course of her life. Then when she passes away, her 2 adult children have now 10 years to cash out that entire IRA. By disclaiming assets, we can have the first 10-year period when the first spouse dies, and then the second 10-year period when that second spouse dies. Just that alone is going to save a lot of money in taxes. There's kind of a lot more that goes into that. And if you'd like a video dedicated just to disclaiming assets or a case study or something similar, let me know in the comments and we'll get to work on that right away. So like most areas of financial planning, planning early gives you the most amount of choices. Waiting until RMDs start means you're reacting to forced income, whether you need it or not, instead of proactively controlling those account balances and then controlling the tax outcomes. When you account for both of them ahead of time, they stop being a surprise and you're being proactive rather than reactive. So now let's shift from the mechanics of RMDs then to the mindset. The calmest retirees view RMDs as part of their overall income plan, not just some looming tax burden. And that's really the foundation of a term that we made up called the perfect RMD. And what the perfect RMD is when the income you're already taking from your portfolio naturally satisfies that minimum IRS requirement. You're not forced to withdraw extra money that you really don't need, and then you're not creating unnecessary tax spikes. You're simply using the portfolio as it was designed, which was, of course, to provide retirement income. And of course, we create this by right-sizing your traditional IRA through thoughtful Roth conversions or increased spending. So a brief example, oversimplified example, $2 million IRA at age 60, no additional spending or Roth conversions becomes a $4 million IRA at age 85. That year's RMD would be around $250,000. In this example, the IRA owner's budget for retirement was only $200,000 a year, resulting in $50,000 of unneeded income and worse, of course, avoidable taxes. We would call this an imperfect RMD. Same example as before, $2 million in an IRA at age 60. This time we did thoughtful Roth conversions every year, annual Roth IRA conversions, at same growth rate and everything. Now we've got $3 million in traditional IRAs and $1 million in Roth IRAs. So now our RMD went from $250,000 down to $190,000 in RMDs at the same age at age 85. This is what we call the perfect RMD. The retirement budget calls for $200,000 in income. Because we planned ahead, now we only have a $190,000 force out. So by taking $200,000 from their retirement portfolio, that automatically satisfies the $190,000 minimum distribution. Obviously, if you exceed the minimum distribution, that's okay. We just can't do it the other way. We can't say, I only need 200 and they make me take 250 or whatever it is. Does that make sense? The math in this example, of course, is conceptual nature only. I don't want you to focus on the math. I want you to focus on the concept for this important reason. Success in this example with the perfect RMD, it's going to only be directional. It's not going to be precise because you're never going to hit the bullseye perfectly because markets or inflation or tax rates or spending, even the RMD starting dates themselves, they're all variables that we can at best directionally control. Some we can't control at all. So the goal is to know roughly what success looks like and then stay in that range, right? When you understand where you're headed, you can remove the fear of missing perfection. This mindset shift turns RMDs from a rule that you're dreading into confirmation that, hey, my plan is actually working. I'm still in this range like we planned. So let's tie all this together. Step 1, understand the basics early. Know what your RMDs are, when they start, and what the penalties are. Step 2, plan in advance. Ideally, if you can, at least a decade in advance. Use Roth conversions, use the idea of qualified charitable distribution planning, and use multi-generational beneficiary strategies to shape the outcome before your RMDs start. Step 3, adopt the perfect RMD mindset. Aim for direction, not perfection. Align your spending and your withdrawals so that your RMDs become part of your normal retirement income plan. And then, of course, step 4, all of the above. Using all of the above RMD strategy, give yourself more than one chance to be right. Don't put all of your strategic eggs in one basket, so to speak. Now, when you implement all these together, you're not just reacting to IRS deadlines or timelines, you're managing a system that you built with intention. So now that you understand what major research reveals about thousands of retirees and the proven strategies that ended their RMD worries, you can implement the same systematic approach that creates stress-free distribution management. And don't forget, we have a free tool where you can calculate your own RMDs. It's available for download absolutely free in the video description. If you want to plan for your perfect RMD and you want help from me, go ahead, click the link in the description, book some time on my calendar, and we'll optimize your retirement plan as a whole. So again, my name is Ben. I hope this video helped to make your retirement even better, and I'll see you on the next one.